We suggest that we go back in time to the New Kingdom of Egypt. This is also referred to as Egypt's Golden Empire. It took place between the 16th century BC and the 11th century BC. This map shows the maximum territorial extent of the New Kingdom.
The ruler of Egypt was called a pharaoh, and the New Kingdom had some of the most powerful ones. They included Amasis, Hatshepsut, who actually was a woman, Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, the son of Amenhotep, Tutankhamen, the son of Akhenaten, Ramses II, the last ruler of the New Kingdom.
Everyone knew where they stood in society because the social system was very rigid. Education. Before the New Kingdom, social movement was almost impossible. When the kingdom began to grow, they needed more educated people so bright young Egyptians could move up the social ladder.
Usually, a woman's social position was defined by her husband or father. However, there were occasionally women in power, such as Ahotep, who ruled while her son was growing up, and Hatshepsut, who was already mentioned as a pharaoh, as well as the wife of Akhenaten, Nefertiti. They also were considered equal before the law and had financial independence. For women, going back in time to Egypt could be very beneficial. They received many rights 4,000 years before Western women.
In the deserts of Nubia, Egyptians discovered many gold mines that gave them unimaginable wealth and riches. This led to a golden age in art and architecture as well.
Architecture included moving on from pyramids and beginning to build temples and tombs. Temples were the most important buildings in ancient Egypt. The pharaohs built tombs in what would be known as Valley of the Kings.
Hieroglyphics was transformed into hieratic script for daily use because it was simpler, and during the New Kingdom was entirely replaced by Demotic script for daily use. Hieratic was then only used for religious texts. Then the Egyptian people adapted to Coptic writing, which was then replaced by Arabic.
New Kingdom in Egypt had many cities. The largest and most famous is Amarna, the capital of Akhenaten. Another palace settlement is at Malkata. Other cities included Gurop, Memphis, and Tel El Yahudiyeh.
New Kingdom included many new developments. War technology was developing then as they began to have bronze and metal daggers. They also developed armor made of leather and two-wheeled chariots pulled by horses. The other big technological developments were relating to the Nile and water. They learned to build embankments and dikes as well as a new way to lift flood water called shadouf. The Egyptian climate with its hot summers and mild winters favored light clothing made from plant fibers, predominantly linen.
The houses of the poorest people used one row of bricks, while those that were not so poor used 2 or 3 rows. Although mud bricks houses were relatively cheap to make, they were not very strong and began to crumble after a few years. The houses of the richest people were stronger because they could afford to build their home from stone. Most houses had at least 3 rooms, and all houses had flat roofs, which formed part of the living area.
Warning: the empire did bring a lot of change, however, much stayed the same. If you are a peasant or a servant, you are still at the bottom of the heap, and despite the rights given to women, most of them depended entirely on their husband and families.
However, many of us could drive with the changing roles of women and the movement in social classes, as well as the developing art and architecture.